What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'll be making a full review for the 4th anniversary appreciation Romancing Festival Merlot-Syrah banner. Yes, we have 5 dragons here. Merlot-Syrah is a damage dealer for Pierce and Lightning. And then Gwayne is a farmer. Genryu is a support for defensive squads. Dragonlord is a farmer. And Dragon Knight is a tank. Yes, well, let's go straight out to our srs.xyz website, starting with Merlot-Syrah gives a name to the banner, and as you can see, we have 120% SGR and intelligence. They made Merlot-Syrah an hybrid unit just because the spear had the wind element, but it makes no sense. It's just a waste of status to give to intelligence. That's why SGR is not that high. We have just 102% endurance and 110% will, average values, and 101% agility. Moving on, starts the fight with 14 VP so that it becomes able to use skill number 3 if you want. Then it will grant all surviving allies multiple things, like this defense boost that will decrease damage taken by, in JP it says it 25% for 3 turns. Then a defense up that will decrease damage taken by 20% for the whole fight. A hit up that will improve damage potential by 15% for the whole fight. And then we'll all get this Frenzy Dance. Okay, Frenzy Dance is pretty different. On JP you could only trigger this once, now you can trigger with one of your characters. And when you kill a target, then you're gonna recover all surviving allies BP by 5. Then you're gonna grant them all a hit up that will increase damage potential by 20% for the whole fight. And then a defense up that decreases damage taken by 15% for the whole fight. So that is very specific. Look, on Spiral Corridor and on Remembrance fights, we fight minions. And you can bring Merlot-Syrah, allow one of your characters to kill one minion, another one to kill another minion, and you're going to stack those effects. That is pretty situational. Stage 270 from Spiral, for example, has 2 waves. In that case, you can timely kill the enemies in order to get all of these effects. Does that matter all that much? No, most of the hard challenges in the game has just one enemy, one wave. But it's pretty interesting if you manage to stack this up. On start of a turn, you also give all surviving allies all-in rush. 2 times for 1 turn. When you land an attack, you're gonna cast an attack boost that increases damage potential by 10%, and a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 15%. Both last for 2 turns and can stack. That is actually nice because, look, we had many elemental specialists that will allow you to give defense boost to yourself when attacking with specific elements, or to the party. Recent ones are applying to the party. This attack and defense boost that you get, it's kind of a little more similar to Katarina's. Katarina will allow you also to get attack and defense boosts, but via weak defense and resist offense. You get attack boosts when attacked, and you get the defense boost when you attack. Values are different though, you can see here that they are higher, but you need to fit the requirements in order to be able to get the full potential. But it's nice because no restriction works all the time. Okay, and if your character has a chase attack, it will trigger 2 times in that turn. If it doesn't have a chase or if it does not attack, it's not going to get anything. So Merlot-Syrah does not work well with characters, for example, like Terrain, that does not attack. On start of a turn, you get 2 extra BP, and then you buff all surviving allies Love and Charisma by 20%. Just Love and Charisma, this is for healing, because Merlot-Syrah will also apply on the end of turn recover, and this will trigger 2 times per battle. So your characters will be healing around 400 per tick, so around 800 after turn 2 onwards. So very nice, since this is a damage dealer that can also heal the party. Moving forward, we have this 30% damage increase at all times and a 30% damage reduction at all times as well. When landing an attack, Assault will be activated 2 times. What is Assault? The same skill from the monster version. The second one. Assault hits 2 times with C power and buffs STR by 15% each hit. Yes, because this is rank 1. Damage is Pierce and Lightning, So it does have double element. 2 hits with C power, it's similar to triple S power attack, but you have to consider the SGR buffs, and since this is 2 times chases, it's 4 hits of C power. That will be pretty close to what you would expect from a character that has double chases with 4S power. The thing is that Merlot-Syrah doesn't have that much damage passives. It will rely on external sources to improve damage more than just itself. If a boss removes SGR buffs, then Merlot-Syrah suffers even more. But it's a pretty good kit when you see that it does offer a lot of parts utility. Skill number 1 is called Lightning's Word. It is a single target attack with Piercing Lightning that if you land a weak attack, you recover the user's BP by 4. That's pretty amazing because you're going to bring Merlot-Syrah versus weak enemies anyway. Also, on Remembrance, you always land weak attacks, so extra BP generation. Second skill is a spell, Mystical Typhoon. Hits a column of enemies with Slash and Lightning, not Pierce, and can apply Paralysis. Well, this barely matters. Paralyze will work on real Queen if you're a new player, but you cannot even use this skill twice in a row, so doesn't really help. Then the third one, Vortex Spiral. It is a Piercing Lightning attack that hits 5 times with E power and grants the user an attack boost that increases damage potential by 15% with each hit. The good thing is, your chances will improve damage because of the attack boost as well. 13 BP seems to be a lot, but if you cycle Vortex, Spiral, and Lightning Sword, you can keep the perfect run. And that's about it. You're gonna have very good damage in one turn, average damage in the another, alongside giving a lot of defense and offensive support to your party. As for inheritance, there is one that really makes sense with Merlot-Syrah, and that will be from the human version, Shiny Sparkles. You use 12 BP to decrease the BP cost for skills by 10. They last for 5 turns, alongside this attack boost that will increase your damage potential as well. So what happens is that after you use this for 1 turn, you're gonna use skill 3 times in a row. So you're gonna get a lot of damage out of 4 Vortex Spiral. If you don't have this style, then you can still, for example, inherit Chain Lightning for fights where there are multiple enemies. And 14 BP is a little pricey, but if you have BP battery, it can still work. Or you can even use Assault, that will then buff your STR by 25% per hit on the first 2 and then 15% per hit on the other 4 as a chase. It then still works if there is just 1 enemy anyway. And it is easy to use Merlot-Syrah on Remembrance because we lack defense support for spears, although we are getting enough recently, especially with Hannibal, with Forneus. On real challenges, it is also easy to fit Merlot-Syrah in many squads, but it's also not something that will change the flow of battle. Not many people will say, okay, I defeated this because of Merlot-Syrah, but it's also someone that is easy to run in serious challenges on fights where you just need even more defense boosts, even though we have a lot right now. For Pierce, I believe that Merlot-Syrah will compete with Therese. That is such a good character that can buff Endurance Wheel and defense boost. As for Lightning, will also compete with Ihachi. The newest one is such a powerful unit anyway, and well, still very useful. So there is some competition, like I said, Therese as well. If you got those 2 units, you are pretty much safe. But if you want a spear user like Merlot-Syrah, it's also a good one. I'll be giving Merlot-Syrah a 4 out of 5. Yes, because characters that offer offensive and defensive supports live longer than the rest. Moving forward, we will be talking about Genryu. Yes, because it's the second best one. Genryu has here 125% hindrance and 125% with very tanky status, alongside 119 STR and 122% agility. Nothing else matters in this character. Now, on the start of a turn, when our allies are still surviving, activates the following. Yourself and a random surviving ally, an attack boost that will increase your damage potential by 20% only for that turn, and a defense boost that will decrease damage taken by 20% as well, only for that turn. Now, it will recover 1 random surviving ally HP by around 1.2000 and 1 random surviving ally BP by 2. So, the first part will guarantee something for yourself and for another. The other 2 parts are for random people. Now, this is not just It's actually 5 times because of the second passive. So every start of turn, you're going to get 5 attack boosts, 5 defense boosts to yourself, and then 5 to random people, and then the 5 HP recover and the 5 BP generation. You can get to Genryu that does not need more attack or defense boosts, or you can heal people that don't need to be healed. But the extra BP generation is nice. Eventually it will help people that need, but it's not that reliable. Still, Genryu is a very good resource for MR's Remembrance, since you only need to clear it once. Besides, when all allies are still surviving, reduce damage taken for everyone by 40%. That is a super ultra strong guard, the evolution of the strategy. Starts the fight with 12 VP because you can use a strong attack, and by the start of turn you get 2 extra, so at least 5 VP, and even more if you get Tight Bone to trigger. And also, on the start of a turn, will grant an attack boost for everyone. This time it increases damage potential by 15%. This is just for 1 turn as well. The problem with those buffs is that they don't stack further, since they only last for 1 turn. And also, all surviving allies heat up. That increases damage potential by 10%. Triggers 5 times, so on turn 5 you increase it 50% for everyone. But you get the other extra 15%, and then all the other ones that will appear from Tight Bond. It is interesting that you get so many effects, but Genryu is also clashing with Hawke, Joe, but more about that later. Skill number 1 is called Flame Union. It's support, and you can cast this to one person, and it will grant this person a Rousing Bound for 2 turns. That is the same passive from Joe. Okay, so what was that again? Joe, Christmas style, not Christmas, but release it close to, has this Rousing Bound effect on herself, and then she cast it to everyone else via Flame Force. Remember that this is something that will trigger effects when you are hit. Since Joe cast to everyone else's, if one is attacked, the other ones will get an attack boost for 5% increase in damage, lasts for 2 turns and stacks, but a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 20% only for that turn. Will keep stacking, but it starts from 0 again every next turn. But the case with Joe is that everyone has it, so if one gets hit, the others trigger, and an AoE attack will happen for everyone. What is the difference now with Genryu? That skill can be casted for 1 character, and that is terrible. Why would you want to cast this for just 1 character? You can use it in Rising King, Rising Phoenix formation, and then cast this for someone that is fragile. And if you have a tank, every time that tank is attacked, that character that got this skill will get boosts. I don't like it. Then we have Water of Life, that I don't know why they gave this to Genryu, but okay. It's just recovery and revives, uses 1 LP, and removes debuffs. And then the important skills, Wings of Fire and Ice. This is a fast skill that deals damage, pretty weak, heat and cold, and there is just deep power. Will grant all surviving alliances guard up very large. That decreases damage taken by 50%, lasts for 2 turns, but guard up does not stack. And then will also grant all surviving allies Rousing Bound. And now that makes sense. Okay, you want Rousing Bound, but then this is only for 1 turn, and then you want it every turn. But it needs 12 VP, and you only have 5. You can get more because of RNG, though. Genryu works pretty well with squads that have at least Leon and someone else, maybe Katarina or others BP generation. Needs at least 2 if you want to keep using Wings of Fire and Ice all the time. The agility is good enough that you will usually attack before enemies that have fast skills. Not many enemies will have fast skills anyway, but you will get all of these effects for the party. If you cannot cast this for every turn, then Genryu will become much weaker, because then you decrease damage a lot in 1 turn and not that much in the another. For Megalith Dragon, Genryu still works super well. Why? Because you can cast Wings of Fire and Ice on even turns, where the enemy attacks multiple times, and when you need to counter, so that you actually have guard up for 2 turns, and then on odd turns, you don't need rousing pound. Even if you have some problems to not keep Wings of Fire and Ice all the time, remember that 40% damage reduction alongside 50% damage reduction on all the extras that you already get with Tight Bond are already good enough, and all the extras that you may get are a bonus. But Genryu is also competing with Hawke, for example, that just got released. Hawke has a problem of starting the fight without any damage reduction, but then he can use Pirate Command. That will help him and everyone else's, and then he has defense boosts that last for 2 turns. That will eventually be much better if the enemy attacks more often. If the enemy does not attack much often, Genryu will even surpass Hawke. But Hawke also heals. Genryu also heals as well. So I will say that although I feel like Genryu is a little inferior, it's not by much. So that's why I believe he still deserves a 4.5 out of 5. And if you already have Hawke, you can safely skip unless you are thinking about Remembrance fights. You don't need to have all versions of defense boosters, because in fights where Hawke works, Genryu works as well. Can you combo them together? Yes, but it can also be a little bit overkill. Moving on, the next one will be Dragonlord. Dragonlord is all for damage. We have 133% SGR and agility, and 105 endurance and will. They are just about the averages. Moving on, we start the fight with 20 BP. That's right, Dragonlord just wants to do damage. Then on the start of a turn, you grant yourself Dragon Pursuit for 2 turns. And that can actually stack, because on turn 2 you have 2 stacks. After activating an overdrive attack, so only on overdrive this will happen, you grant yourself a heat attack boost. That will increase your heat damage potential by 40%, lasts for 3 turns, and will stack multiple times because of how it works. If you are using a column attack, then Tail Attack Breath will be activated. If you are using an AoE attack, then Prominence Charge will be activated. What are these attacks? Skill 2 and Skill 3. If you are using Tail Attack Breath, then you're gonna chase with Tail Attack Breath. And you will chase 2 times from turn 2 onwards. And what is this about? 13 BP for triple S power attack, and then you are going to get this 3 times. Or, Prominence Charge is a full AoE attack that hits 3 times with deep power, blunt and heat as well. It is kind of no-brainer. I don't know how Tail Attack Breath makes sense, because 3 times with deep power essentially breaks the damage. So forget about Tail Attack Breath and just use Prominence Charge. It hits 3 times, and then it is critical versus plant, insect, and bones. The good thing about Prominence Charge is that it also appears as a chase after a normal attack. Use a normal attack, get a full AoE attack that hits 3 times with deep power for free. Strange that you have to rely on normal attack. This is old design though. On the end of a turn, you have a 50% chance to fill your Overdrive Gauge, so that you can, again, get many extra effects. Also, on Overdrive Attack, I forgot to say, but you will also be debuffing the enemy SGR and Agility by 10%. So if you attack 3 times, you can debuff 30%. Now, you have a 40% damage increase when landing weak attacks, and a 40% increase when using overdrives. By the end of a turn, you are going to get extra 5 VP for 3 times, and then a heat down to yourself. That will decrease your damage potential by 5%. This is ridiculous, and I don't know why it even exists. Then there is Intrinsic, that increases your damage at all times by 30, and then you will reduce damage taken by 40% if you resist, and then you have a 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. Okay, so this character relies on doing weak damage, and even more on using overdrive attacks. Pretty specific, because you don't fully charge your overdrive dodge. Okay, at least a normal attack gives you 25 points of overdrive, and I don't know how much Prominence Charge will give you, but sometimes you will get more than 30, and, well, 3 turns will always give you overdrive at least. But then he will work well with characters that gives him overdrive feel, like the newest Silence or other characters like Sheree. Okay, skill number 1 fixes the problem. It costs 8 BP, a little too much, because look, this character gets this extra 5 3 times, starts with 20, but then after this has very bad BP generation. But on the start of a fight, okay, you use 8 and then you get this Flaming Practice that would trigger 3 times Elemental Enhance for heat. That increases heat damage by 30% for a total of 90. And also will recover your Overdrive Gauge for 3 turns on the end of turn. So if you want to use Dragonlord for very quick fights and AoE damage for on specific turns, you use this skill, increase your damage output, and use your AoE attack for Imminence Charge. That works, but it's extremely limited. If you want the character to do more damage on long fights, it just doesn't work. So this character does not have any older version. It is pretty simple, extremely skippable, only gets a 2.5 out of 5. Next dragon is Gwayne, and he has 124% STR and 132% agility, alongside 110% endurance and will. They are a little above the average, but nothing really stellar. Starts the fight with 11 VP, and if killed, revives once with 100% HP. When landing in an attack, grants itself an attack boost that increases damage potential by 10%, lasts for 5 turns stacks, and a defense boost of 15% damage reduction just for that turn. You also apply defense down on the enemy, decreasing the defense of the enemy by 10%, lasts for 2 turns and stacks. Removes the enemy's buffs as well. Yeah, buff break on any attack from Gwayne. That is a global exclusive buff that is actually pretty amazing. The attack boost is terrible, 10% damage increase, while Shaw has 50% damage increase. The only way to make it really impactful. By the end of a turn you get 2 extra points of BP for 5 at least. And then you also buff your OG Gouge by 25 points. On overdrive attacks, then you're gonna have some interesting effects, like you will grant yourself an end of turn recovery of very large effect. So by the end of a turn, you're gonna recover for, I don't know, 2000s or more. And when landing an attack on a human enemy, you get another one. Alongside 1 extra BP. Makes no sense, but okay. When landing an attack, you will also take recoil damage all the time. And that is 10% of your HP. Recoil damage cannot be mitigated, but you will also chase with Lightning Tempest 2 times. 10% HP is not much to pay to get Lightning Tempest 2 times. What is it? Roll attack with C power, slash and lightning, and it already hits 2 times. So much like Assault that we were discussing, it's 4 hits of C power. This one does not buff on each hit, and it's instead of single target, a roll attack. Slash and lightning means that you can use this dragon also on Spiral Corridor 270, but haven't we already got so many characters that work there? Why use it? And because it is more about area damage, it could be much better. We can already see future characters release it with stronger damage potential. Besides, has 1 damage reduction passive that increases damage taken by 25%, and also has heat up that increases 15% damage 5 times for a total of 75%. I cannot see a lot from this character. Skill number 1 is a roll attack with E power, just so that you use it when you don't have BP. Doom Ray is a roll attack with heat and lightning, and deals 30% recoil damage for 6 BP. Useless. So this character was designed to do damage versus enemies aligned in a row, and on overdrive deals more, and if you don't have EP, use skill 1. Nothing else. Gwayne does not have a good future. Sadly, some of his styles were nice in the past, like this one has Rolling Thunder Plus that hits 2 times, single target and AoE, and can paralyze, blunt and lightning, and now it's slash and light. So Gwayne is pretty much similar to Dragonlord in the way that it's extremely easy to skip and will also get a 2.5 out of 5. Last one will be Dragon Knight. This one is interesting, but on the same time also a waste. 130% endurance and will means that it is pretty defensive. 95% agility is just okay, alongside 120% STR. Just remember that this character has great swords. So when attack damage will be reduced by 30%, and then another time by 50%. On start of battle, grants himself formal stance. That is the same type of passive Julian has, and even Emperor has, but Emperor has a better version, that you apply down to yourself and stealth to all other allies, so that you have very big chance of being attacked. And if an ally is attacked, you still have 50% chance to cover that ally, reducing damage taken. So that really helps, because when you are attacked, you can recover your HP by around 301 BP as well. Now, you have 20% damage potential, that's ridiculous. But on the start of battle, you grant 5 damage blocks to all surviving allies, no term limit. So for fights where the enemy uses single target attack, this is amazing, because it will be distributing alongside all of your characters, and then it can last for many turns. It will also grant all surviving allies rest in fight 1. If no one receives any damage, one will apply a hit up and a defense up of 5% to everyone in the party. And will also recover all surviving allies HP by around 300. Since each character can trigger it 5 times, a max of 25 triggers, that's right, 25 defense ups of 5%. This is crazy, but it is not as good as you think. Because first, you have to not take damage for 5 turns. We were discussing that you can actually use Dragon Knight with Empress and use her Empress shield from the Global X style, so that you guarantee that 2 turns you are not going to take damage and it will not break your damage blocks. But if you bring Final Empress just to make this guy work, well, you have to use 2 units for a certain strategy. That would be okay if the strategy was that great. But even 25 stacks of 5% means around 73% damage reduction. Okay, now we have to discuss something. What about ScherBR? ScherBR gives you 50%, and 2 times it means 75%. Of course, ScherBR will need another BP battery to help him keep using Rainbow Flower Strings, and just Leon is not enough. You have to bring even more, like Katarina, but then ScherBR also gives you healing, also gives you attack boost, also gives OG points. There is also Genryu, that we just discussed it on this banner, that gives you 50% damage reduction, 40% damage reduction. There's Hawke. There are other characters like Katarina and many others that can give you many defense boosts now in the game. So Dragon Knight can give you that much mitigation via not taking damage for 5 turns. But what is happening on the start of the fight? Right now, it is super hard to survive in hard challenges. And even if you get all of that, what else Dragon Knight brings? He taunts, okay, but does he counter? No, the guy does not counter. He just takes the damage and that's it. He has a skill 1 that has very small recovery and guard up small, that is kinda useless most of the time. Skill 2 is Lightning Slasher that attacks between 2 to 4 times with attack boost, but forget, Dragon Knight's not made for damage. Then there is Chivalry Shield that gives a single target damage block for 5 times. And just 1 turn. Because it's 1 turn, this is made so that you can try to guarantee that one of those rest of fight 1 passives will trigger on a specific character. But for 10 BP, just for that 5% hit up and 5% defense up, is that really worth? No. Actually, Dragon Knight really benefits from this inheritance called Great Dragon Fireball. That is a heat, cold, and lightning defense boost that decreases damage taken by 25% for each of these elements. If an enemy uses a skill that has both heat and cold, then it's multiplied by 2. Multiplicatively. Still, it is much better than anything else. Dragon Knight is pretty strange. I don't recommend pulling for him, and because he can still provide something, I think that for Great Swords there is some space, but still a 3 out of 5 nonetheless. With all that said, let's go back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? No. I will have to say that this banner, even though it has 5 styles, it's not recommended to pull. Merlot-Syrah is nice, easy to fit in many squads, but there will be replacements. Genryu, very good, and it's easy to use on Remembrance, but we'll have future units that will also provide support for MRs, and he's not really a must-have. Although, very close to Hawke in terms of potential. Gwayne, Dragonlord, and Dragon Knight are really bad. I don't like these units, and I don't recommend pulling for them. So, because of 5 styles, I will give it a silver minus, but it's really easy to skip. With all that said, I haven't pulled it. These are just my opinions. Say here in the comment section if you agree or not. Hope to see you soon in the next video or live stream. Goodbye.